Okay, everyone. So we're looking at the Parthenon. That's what we've been talking about in the course at this point. And of course, there it is, the building that was designed by Ictinus and Callicratus. This is considered the ultimate classical building. I think you'll be doing your assignment while you'll be looking about these kind of interesting humanistic aspects to this building. And in this segment, I want to talk about Phidias and his creations. Now, Phidias was the chief sculptor in charge of overseeing the program of the Parthenon. Here I am showing you the Athena Parthenos. That's the Virgin Athena, the goddess, the patron saint of Athens. At the center of this temple and all temples was the cult statuary, the cult deity. And in this case, in the Parthenon, that was meant to be the most grandiose of buildings, we see a 38-foot tall cult deity. She's absolutely resplendent. Of course, she doesn't exist today. But enough was written about her that artists have done a fairly good job of replicating what she would have looked like. Quite notoriously, she was chryso-elephantine, right? Gold and ivory. We see that incredible gold mantle, that incredible crown that she wears on her head. She carries a shield and a spear. And there's many representations of armed conflict. The Gigantomachy is represented on her shield. Of course, this was really very expensive, and almost immediately upon representing and putting this into place, the Athenians had to start grabbing gold from her mantle. Now, if we look at the pediment, right, which is here, the east pediment, we can see that there are no marbles there currently. That is, of course, because they are in the British Museum. We can thank the Turkish ambassador or the British ambassador in Turkey, Lord Elgin, for removing those marbles, and they exist today at the British Museum. Now, they're absolutely magnificent, considered really one of the greatest works of art ever created. And I want to look at those a little bit more carefully. Now, the entire program no longer exists. And if we look here on this diagram, we can see in the center here, the original program was basically a depiction of the birth of Athena, which is fitting for this temple devoted to this deity. Now, Athena was born from the head of her father Zeus. She sprung from the head when he was having a headache. That no longer exists. We can see this grouping here is what we're looking at. And basically all of the figures in the group are basically reacting to the birth of Athena. That is why we get this kind of movement of figures, expressively reacting to the action that would be appearing here. Now, of course, we've already talked about this kind of interesting dynamic of the triangular composition of the pediment and how difficult that was for artists really from the archaic period onward. And we looked at that earlier. Now, I want to show you the kind of genius of Phidias and what he has done with that difficult triangular composition. As you can see, of course, we would see the reaction here, and the figures are reacting. We see them a standing figure and then a seated figure, and then we see this group here. Now, this figure here is not reacting. In fact, his back is turned to the action, the birth of Athena. It is believed that this is the god Dionysus, who is, of course, the god of wine, partying. He will become Bacchus in the Roman world. He has something in his hand. It is believed that he is holding a goblet, and if that is the case, then he would probably be toasting the dawn with his back turned to Athena. And then we see this group here, and look what Phidias has done. He's basically transformed this ground line into a horizon line, and we see here the dawn. The rising dawn is moving up and the sun is rising. Here we see the chariot. The Greeks believe that the dawn was the god Helios, the sun deity, moving across the sky in a chariot. And here we see him, his horses have broken through the horizon line as he's moving upward. And this is what has captured Dionysus's attention. It's absolutely masterful, incredibly clever use of this very difficult compositional arrangement. So that is on one side. It's very, very beautiful. We can see how expressive these figures are, and we can really see this on the grouping on the other side. And this is the three goddesses. Now, this is in the far corner of the east pediment on the right side. And here we have the three goddesses, Hestia, Dione, and Aphrodite. Dione is the mother of Aphrodite, and we have this group kind of laying out, and we see Phidias's mastery of what is called the wet drapery technique, the way that drapery clings to the body. Of course, we know this kind of interest in the idealized body. Under Phidias, we also see the incorporation of drapery that now takes on this incredibly expressive form, kind of moving around the body, creating a sense of motion and dynamism, at the same time thin enough that we can clearly see the body underneath. It's very, very masterful. It's really kind of an iconic aspect of the high classical period. Okay,